We are at the one and only historical Cumberland Gap. It's located on the west end of the Cumberland Gap National Historical Park. We will not be able to see the original gap because they put a road in here years ago and they put a tunnel through the mountain. We're going to go to the object lesson road. See the little horse and buggy? And they put it back according to everything that they could with all the information, the surveys and what photographs they had of the area before they put the road in. And they put it back as close as they could. But you know, whenever you move great big rocks, you just can't get those same big rocks in this exact spot. Anyway, we're doing a historical thing. The Wilson family. We're going back six generations. I'm the seventh. To my knowledge, I'm the latest of my family to go through the gap. I know I've done videos before of this. But we're going to go back in time. It's a half-mile walk. It's Thanksgiving 2024. November, whatever, Thanksgiving. I've had the privilege to walk this several times. If I remember correctly, I have done all of the west end of the Cumberland Gap National Historical Park trails. I've got just a little bit left to do from Skylight Cave up to the ridge. And I'll have it all done. Then it's ridge line all the way over to the White Cliffs, White Rock end of the east end. Daniel Boone did not discover this. Colonel Walker did not discover it, but Colonel Walker is credited as the first white person we're up the object lesson road shortly. It was done as an example for the populace to get an idea of how roads could be and should be so that they can traverse areas. Reliably. I'm getting 74 now. I'm getting where I am starting to physically, basically unable to do some of the hikes I would like to hike here at the Cumberland Gap National Historical Park, because it takes so much to get up to the ridge line. I can't do it. I can do the ridge line, or I can get up to it, but I can't do both. Now I want to speak, we're stepping back a generation. My dad, Everett D. Wilson Sr., my older brother was junior. I'm the middle son. I have a younger sister and a younger brother. Of the four of us, I'm the only one that's been here. Unfortunately, my older brother could never be here. He has passed away, as has my dad. So he's sixth generation. I'm the seventh, he's the sixth. He was born and raised in a place called Pumpkin Chapel, Kentucky. His dad was a farmer, owned some property, grew tobacco. I don't know what else. I know about tobacco. Raised 6 kids and fed his wife and himself and 6 kids. And didn't have Social Security till late in life. My dad, Everett, I call him Dad, shown me, taught me the beauty of nature. And you think, everything's naked, there's nothing blooming, there's nothing here to see. Well, you can't see the forest because of the trees. With that kind of thinking, you look past the trees, you look down at the rocks, the structure. What you see in the spring and summer and fall are the trees. You don't see the mountains. You see the trees on top of the mountains. Let's see if I can get an example. Okay. Let's do a little zoomy here. You can see the rocks right there. And the rocks right there. Those aren't so visible. Spring, summer, and early fall. Everything's all leafed out. Yeah, I've been here at those times. My dad left that part of Kentucky, Somerset, Russell Springs, Pumpkin Chapel is about halfway between the two and a few miles north of Route 80. Magnificent. That's all solid rock with the leaves and moss and some ground that developed from decaying leaves, and there's trees growing on top of the rocks. And his older brother Chester had got a job in Illinois. There were farmers in need of help, and they would sponsor you. And Chester got drafted, so he let his brother Everett know, and he applied, got the job. He moved to Penfield, Gifford, Illinois, and that's how we got to Illinois. Otherwise, we'd still been in Kentucky. I asked a ranger at the Welcome Center if there's any evidence, any type of blazing that was done at the time of Daniel Boone, and she said no, because how they blazed things back then, they cut the trees down. And in over 200 years, those stumps have returned back to earth. What, America's what, 250 years, something like that? Okay, let's go to the fifth generation. We've talked about me, the seventh, my dad, the sixth. Let's talk about his dad, Drewry Wilson. Owning a farm in Kentucky, raising 6 kids, is that right? Manita, Sylvie, Bertha, Genevieve, yeah. 6 kids, 2 boys, 4 girls. We're coming to the end of the example. Part of the road. Object lesson. He farmed with mules. He never owned a tractor. He'd go to town in a mule-drawn wagon. Not unless one of the neighbors picked him up and took him in a car or something like that. Otherwise, he was motorized vehicles. He had a well outside the door. Dropped the bucket in. Well, crank your rope back up, you get your drinking water. I've never had drinking water that good in my life, is what was out of that well. One of my aunts, Sylvie, could make biscuits. Oh man, she could make biscuits, but at the same time, she strove for years to make them as good as her mother, Lorna Pearl. She never, ever hit it on the money. But, you know, I grew up on Sylvie's biscuits, not my grandmother's biscuits. That's a historical walk. Let's have a look. The Wilderness Road Trail. I've been down this once. That was just all I could handle. As I was saying, Daniel Boone never blazed a trail. He cut down trees of an existing trail that the Indians, the buffalo, the deer, whatever animal there was, 1775 is whenever Daniel Boone did this. 1775. That was before America. But it was right in the time when America was starting to develop, that it wanted its independence. And Drewry's, we're going to go back one, fourth generation. Now, Drewry's mom and dad was Cyrus and Emily. Cyrus Walker Wilson. There happened to be two of them about the same age. They were born like 15 years apart. They died 15 years apart. And they were like 2 counties apart. And people sometimes get them mixed up in their genealogy. Emily was Cyrus's third wife. Life was rough back then. You know, back in the good old days, where a woman could give birth to her first child, and her first child is still alive, but she didn't make it. She died during or just after the childbirth because killed her for whatever reasons. Ripped her open, she bled out, something like that. I don't know. But he had like 4, 5, 6, 8 to 10 kids, something like that. Beautiful up here. I'm always at peace here at the Gap. I hike the Smokies, I hike the Gap. Of the 2 national parks, I prefer this one for the peace. The Smokies has a larger amount of trails you can do. But this one has just a piece to it. It's just some dates. Cyrus Walker was born in 1854. He passed away in 1925. Emily, my mother knew her. She passed away in 46. My mom is still alive, so she's met Emily. I think, if I remember right, she was in Kentucky while I was developing in her, and she met Emily while she was pregnant with me. So we're at what now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're the fourth family member. Been on all three of these. I've even went up that trail to the Pinnacle Overlook and back. And I don't remember if I went that way or I went on this way. I think I came from where we were coming from. I want to talk about Joshua Wilson. He's my second great grandfather. He was married to Sarah McQueary. Another farmer in the family. I don't know how much land was passed down from generation to generation. I don't know. We have two left. Reverend Moses Harkness Wilson, my third great-grandfather. That's 6 generations back. He was married to Melishia. She went by Lishie. Hopper was her maiden name. So I came by the title Reverend Terrence. Honestly, it's in the family. I didn't start nothing. I'm just continuing. She's out of North Carolina. He's out of Kentucky. We are at the official gap. There's the sign. Wilderness Road. Tri-State Peak. You go up over there and you're at Kentucky, Tennessee, Virginia. The Cumberland trailhead is up there too. You can take it till you're just directly above the tunnel that they built so they could put this back. Let me see. Okay. I think it's right up there. It's where the overlook is. You can stand at the far right corner of it and look right down into here. Anyway, let's talk about number one, my fourth great grandfather, Reverend Nathaniel E. Wilson. He was born in Henry, Virginia. There's another monument up there. His wife, Susannah, she was a Stevens. How you doing?
Doing all right. How about yourself?
Pretty good.
Oh, happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving to you also. They ended up passing away in Adair County, Kentucky. Nathaniel and Suzanne, Moses and Melishia, we do not know where they're buried. Joshua and Sarah, we don't know where they're buried. We have an idea where they're supposed to be buried, but their headstone was destroyed over time. Nathaniel was the first Wilson to come through the Cumberland Gap. I'm the 7th generation. One thing I'll share, I share this about any place you go. If there's a sign, this is one here. So, you've been with me, and each of us has been to the Cumberland Gap now. Now, if you want to make it more real, you're planning a trip here. Make sure you get a picture of you in front of the sign. Why? Without a picture in front of the sign, you would never hear. You photoshopped it. Indians, buffalo. Yeah, buffalo used to roam this part of the country. Civil War soldiers were up and down this at one time. And now we've been up and down this. It's history, folks. This is how many of the families got to California. They had to cross through some gaps. This is one of them. This is the best known one. To get to Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, Kentucky, Tennessee, to get west across the Mississippi, across Kansas and Missouri, across the Colorados, up into Montana, places like that. This was a portal through the Appalachian Mountain Range to get west. Do some ancestry checking. See if you have some family member that was born in Virginia, passed away in Kentucky, Tennessee, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio. They went through the Gap more than likely. It's a 99% chance they went through the gap. I hope you've enjoyed a walk through my family history here at the Cumberland Gap National Historic Park. If you have a chance, come. Enjoy the park. There's a campground on the east side, Wilderness Road Campground. They got power. Wi-Fi is pretty good. I was running Verizon 2 bars and sometimes 3 bars, so it's good. Get the electric one. Restrooms are good. They have showers. It's good here.